host Tony Mazza, across the way Bob Compatello, and behind the glass Cho Chifo. Listener call-in line, if you want to give us a call here on a Sunday, is 862-246-7322. We got a lot of sports topics to touch on today. You know, it's kind of funny that the Sunday of Thanksgiving does not have a name, right? You got Thanksgiving on Thursday, right? You got Black Friday on Friday. You got Small Business Saturday on Saturday. Nothing for Sunday, and then tomorrow we have Cyber Monday, which is becoming a big deal now too. So we have to give it a name. I mean,
could be Giant Elimination Day.
Giant Elimination Day, yeah. Maybe Stretch Pants.
Hanging
Sunday.
on by a thread. How about hanging on by a thread day?
Sweatpants.
How about
Sunday?
fans that actually are talking themselves into thinking that this NFC East is in play day?
They're delusional.
Sure, but why not?
Why not?
Terrible division. God, what a god-awful division.
We'll break that down in terms of that division still being up for grabs. My Cowboys are on a 3-game winning streak and have made the division a little more competitive. So
we can talk about
6-5.
that. Amari Cooper, you know what? Maybe it's not a bad sign.
Yeah. I mean, a number 1 draft pick, but if the Cowboys have a decent year this year, it won't be that high of a draft pick. So we could talk a little bit about that. On the way in, we noticed that, remember the old WNEW used to have like the top rock and roll songs? They would go like a countdown. I think you mentioned it used to be on Memorial Day.
Memorial Day weekend.
It seemed like they were doing it this weekend on Q104.3. I'm always curious as to what the number 1 song is. Usually it's Stairway to Heaven, unless I got the throne.
You know, when I ever take an Uber, like at a business dinner a couple of weeks ago, I took an Uber from the city, and the guy, didn't have satellite or anything, and he's like, "What do you want to listen to?" I said, "Put on Q104.3. Carol Miller is still rocking Q104.3. Still doing get the let out at 10 o'clock at night on a weeknight. God bless her."
Yeah, they've taken a lot of the old WNEW rock and roll DJs over to the Q104.3. I mean, the classic rock still sells.
We tried to get Ken Dashow on here. They're not allowed to. They're not allowed to come on.
Well,
remember, like 20 episodes ago, we had the argument about live music versus studio music. I sent Ken Dashow an email, and he said, "I can't come on. I'd love to."
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Richard Neer, if I'm not mistaken, the guy's on the
Oh,
fan.
absolutely. PLJ.
PLJ, right?
Sure, of course.
That's right.
Shelley Sunstein, Jim Kerr.
That's
Come
right.
on, we know them all.
That's right, because PLJ used to be a rock and roll, right?
Allison Steele,
Allison
the Nightbird.
Steele. Ken Dashower. A lot of those names are classic names
Yeah, I
from,
think
our,
Ken Dashow still does like the 5 o'clock drive.
from our childhood.
Yeah.
Where are you on Stairway to Heaven
Oh,
being
come
number
on,
1?
stop.
Huh?
Come on.
Easy?
Yeah.
Easy choice?
I'm a Zeppelin guy.
Free
For the
Bird.
Zeppelin fans out there, these two, I could actually tie this in. The Immigrant Song. One of Zeppelin. These two immigrants that I drive in with every Sunday didn't know the Rain Song.
Yeah.
It's a great song. Great song.
Ron Lunday didn't play that on
Yeah,
AM radio
exactly.
when I was a kid.
Did you watch the? What'd you have this weekend? Did you watch the Ohio State Michigan game?
Yeah. I did check in on that game yesterday. I was surprised. I mean, for Michigan having, I think, maybe like the number 1 ranked defense in college football, they got trucked pretty bad by Ohio State. I mean, they seemed like they didn't have an answer at all for what Ohio State was bringing. A little controversy in terms of the way the broadcast was handled, because they were fawning a lot over Urban Meyer.
Where are you on Urban Meyer? I mean, for people who didn't watch it, Gus Johnson is absolutely getting.
They made it sound like basically
destroyed in the media.
They made it sound like that his doctor is saying basically that if you continue coaching, you're going to die. They almost set it up for him to die basically on the sidelines. I mean, he's got some kind of some kind of head issue or whatever with headaches or something like that. He's a controversial figure because I think he kind of portrays himself as being like a holier than thou, kind of a clean guy. But his track record of Florida was not great in terms of kids getting arrested left and right. And the whole issue in terms of how he handled, I guess, the domestic violence allegation against his offensive coordinator, one of his coaches on his staff.
Correct.
So this may be the beginning of the end for Urban Meyer.
Well, didn't look at yesterday.
Yeah, in terms of health issues and whether or not.
I guess he has some sort of tumor. I mean, we're not going to comment on his health.
Has some kind of brain cyst, some kind of cyst or something.
Cyst, exactly. I guess they can't shrink it, so he takes medication. But Gus Johnson mentioned it more than once or twice. But I don't think anybody has an issue with that. I think the issue is, and by the way, our buddy Mushnick loves to bring this up all the time, and I was very shocked. I don't think he wrote about it this morning. I glanced at the post earlier. I should have it in front of me. Maybe I'll take a look at it at the break, but I don't think he did. He loves to talk about when a guy does something that's clearly out of bounds, and then the announcer says all that they've been through. And Gus Johnson must have said it about 10 times yesterday. With all that he's been through. Now, all that you've been through is like, a fire in your house. That's all that you've been through. Not potentially looking the other way on a serious situation. So
He got suspended for a couple games.
yeah, I mean the university
Sure.
suspended him 3
Yeah.
games. So but I really didn't realize it too much watching the game. But then Twitter was blowing up after the game. People were just crushing Gus Johnson. I guess he did go a little over the top.
They were showing the wife crying on the
Correct.
sidelines, making
Correct.
it sound
At the
like,
end of
oh
the
my
game.
God, the
Yeah.
Urban Meyer family.
Yeah, what they've been through and all that
So
stuff.
tough,
Exactly
tough,
right.
tough,
Walked
tough
uphill
year.
both ways, all that kind of stuff.
If I'm not mistaken, since he's been at Ohio State, I believe he has not lost yet to Michigan.
4-0.
4-0. I think he's he may be 7-0. I think.
I'm sorry.
I think
Harbaugh is
Harbaugh
0-4.
0-4.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Harbaugh is 0-4.
Which is going to be a little bit of a problem for him. I mean, there's always talk that he may go back to the NFL. Could you see him getting over to MetLife and coaching the Nets?
It would be. It would.
Joe, where are you on
It would be a fit.
Jim Harbaugh? Huh?
Can't hurt.
He's got a little bit of a prickly personality. I think I doubt that Mike McCagnon would want him as his head coach
If he's still there.
Yeah, because don't forget, I mean, he got fired out of San Francisco when he was still pretty good, and the team was still pretty good. So he's a prickly character. I mean, he's obviously a great coach, but could he?
Does
fit?
he have a 4-year shelf life? Is that what you're saying?
That's
4 or
probably-
5 years?
that's
Does he
probably
wear
what
out
it
as
is.
well? Is he like maybe a little Parcells? When you think of Parcells really didn't stay at his spots all that long.
It's true. People thought this was the year for Michigan really to get over that hump and to beat Ohio State and
Look,
to make the
it's-
playoffs.
look, it's the way you have college football set up with just 4 teams getting in. I mean, one game does make a season. I mean, you can't afford to lose that game. And they got absolutely smoked.
Can't give
But I
up
watched
60
the whole game. I mean,
you can't give up 60.
it looked like
points.
Meyer totally outcoached them. I mean, not to sound like Gus Johnson, because they did talk about the whole first. They had no answer for that underneath pass the whole first half. And they were just going across the field, running those crossing routes the whole first half. The kid was hitting everybody in stride.
I mean, they did lose
Couple
their
of crazy
All-American
plays.
linebacker Devin Bush, I think, early in the game, which was a big, big loss for the defense. But to get trucked like that, not going to be good. Now, whether or not this is going to be enough for Jim Harbaugh to get run out of town, I don't know. They may have both Harbaugh brothers available for NFL coaching jobs, right? Because there's talk about John getting fired out of Baltimore. Could you imagine them joining up together in their next NFL job? Whether Jim gets it.
I'll tell you what,
John comes
Shiano looked pretty comfortable as an assistant, stepping away from the top dog.
Yeah. Shiano, I don't know what's going to happen with Shiano in the future. Don't forget, he got the Tennessee job last year, and the fans went crazy. They had to withdraw. I think he's got a lawsuit against Tennessee. He's been
Pretty happy on the sidelines yesterday. Maybe he is a number 2 guy.
Could be. He's been a D coordinator there for a couple years. I know Urban Meyer kind of put the screws to him, I think, last week with the way the defense played against Maryland.
What was the issue with Tennessee?
Tennessee was expecting maybe a more accomplished coach in terms of taking over, and they tried to tar him with the whole Penn State scandal because he was there during Sandusky's
Oh, really?
issues. I think he was like an assistant at Penn State there for a while when a lot of that Sandusky stuff was going on. So I think they were implying that maybe Shiano, when he was at Penn State, knew something about what was going on with Sandusky and didn't say anything.
Sounds like they were just looking for a reason.
Yes. Shiano's not, I mean, he did coach in the NFL for a year and a half, but he's not a sexy name. He's not an SEC sexy name. And the Tennessee fans just went crazy.
He had that problem with Coughlin also when he
Yeah.
jumped across the line in the victory formation.
Yeah.
Coughlin had to give him a little schooling after that one.
He's like, that's why we do it at Rutgers.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
give away downs or whatever.
Right,
And it was-
right.
That did not go well.
Right. When he was with Tampa, of
Yeah,
course.
that seemed kind of amateur hour for Shiano. Shiano's a good coach. He's not a charismatic guy, but he's a good coach. He's a program builder, but people from Tennessee, they want a bigger name.
They don't like Italians?
It could be that too. Italians don't sell that well in the South usually.
Have we gotten Tony's sweater on the Facebook Live? Look at that red
Phenomenal.
sweater. Look at that.
I needed a Christmas
Look
sweater,
at that.
so get used to this. You're gonna be
What do we
seeing
say,
a lot-
Bob?
Got
That's
it.
from the Paddington Bear
Yeah,
catalog?
exactly. I had the My Three Sons theme song playing in
Yeah.
my head when I got in the car this morning.
It's my
Fantastic.
Mr. Rogers my 3 sons.
Bob, we're slobs compared to this guy.
You gotta
We
tighten up the
said
look.
next time we're over his house, we want to go in his closet.
Want to see what it's
Want to see
all
what's
about.
going on. You know it's going to be lined up.
I'll take you
color
guys clothing
coordinated.
shopping if you want to go.
He's
with
got
me.
shoe trees, yes or no?
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
I do have one pair of shoes.
And he's got cedar, not plastic. He's got the ones that actually
It's gotta be cedar.
that draw the sweat out of the shoe.
Throws up the odor. Yeah.
So college football, I mean, it comes. I'd love we gotta get a college
let's
football.
break
game.
it down
I
right
mean,
now.
it's crazy. I mean, when
mean-
you get a Final Four, I love the Final Four. It's certainly better than 13 guys in a room picking the national champion. I think we'd all agree there. But they're gonna have to expand this thing. I mean, although I will say this, these conference playoffs definitely, have water rise to its own level. Otherwise, I don't know what you would do. But they certainly need these games next week to kind of.
You mean eliminate the
I
championship
think
games?
so, right? I
Cut
mean, we
the
were just
schedule
talking
short?
before we came on. We just went over this real quickly. I mean,
How about eliminating
Georgia.
like
What would you
cupcake-
do with Georgia if there wasn't a championship game?
I'm not sure you're going to be able to eliminate the conference championship games. Maybe Cupcake Week, they could just eliminate Cupcake Week.
No, I'm saying don't eliminate the conference championship games. I think it's great for them because it
narrows the
yeah,
pool down.
totally. I
Yeah,
mean,
narrows
and
the pool down.
It makes some what look to be very difficult decisions now way more apparent. I mean,
Well, let's
if
talk
Georgia
about-
loses to Alabama, they're gone. That's 2 losses. But if Georgia beats Alabama in a squeaker, you can't get rid of Alabama. So you have 2 teams from the SEC.
Yes.
So if you're Ohio State, you need Georgia to get smoked or lose.
Exactly.
You don't even need them to get smoked. Just
Exactly.
lose.
Exactly.
All right, and that opens up at least
Yeah.
one spot.
Because you figure Alabama's going to make it whether they win or lose. Right?
Unless Georgia lays a pasting on
Clubs,
Alabama,
and even
which
then,
nobody
it's still gonna
sees
be a
it.
big
Yeah, of
deal,
course.
yeah.
You're still number 1, and there's no undefeated team. There's not 4 undefeated teams, so there's going to be spot for a 1-loss team.
If I'm not wrong, I think Clemson is going to be playing Pitt. I think in the ACC championship game, Pitt got smoked by Miami yesterday, so I don't think Pitt is going to pose much of a challenge, if any, to Clemson.
Now, Pitt
The number-
disrupted this whole thing last year when they beat Miami in that nothing game at the end of the year.
So maybe you give Pitt a little bit of a shot, but I doubt it.
Now, what if Pitt beats Clemson?
Clemson is going to be a one-loss team,
To Pitt, that's going to be a tough one.
so they're going to make the argument that why are we different than Alabama? But then Alabama's losing to the number 5 team in the country. Pitt is unranked, I believe.
Right, so Clemson loses
I think
to
Clemson-
Pitt, and Ohio State and Oklahoma both win. Now it's really going to get interesting.
To me, if Clemson loses to Pitt, they should be out because Clemson is not ranked. Alabama losing to Georgia, number 5 team in the country, is a little different.
Right, there
than
you go.
losing
I
to
agree.
Pitt.
I agree.
So I would probably make the argument that Clemson would be out. Notre Dame is in because they don't have a conference game.
Right, and all the
conference
Notre
championship
Dame
game.
haters are just going to be all over this non-conference game,
So if things go as
non-championship,
yeah.
non-conference championship game.
I mean, if things go as planned, meaning that Alabama wins, Clemson wins, Notre Dame we know about, then the question becomes who becomes that 4th team, and the candidates are going to be Oklahoma if they beat Texas, and then Ohio State if they beat Northwestern. Those are really going to be the 2 teams, because Georgia will have 2 losses, like you said. And who's got a better resume? I don't know. Oklahoma probably has a slightly better resume, I think, than Ohio State, because Ohio State's marquee win is going to be beating Michigan at home by a
I
lot.
think Ohio State goes in over Oklahoma.
You think
All
so?
things being equal, yeah.
I don't know. That's going to be an interesting debate. You got to take a look at what the computer ranking show and stuff.
Can they expand the format
Well, if you
without
go
the championship games?
if you were to go to 8 games, that's going to add one other game, right?
That's going to add one. Yeah, that would add one other game.
Right. 'Cause you
Gets
go-
down to a Final Four, which they're
Yeah.
in now.
So the question is, when do you sneak in that other game? Because right now the way they're doing it with the semifinals, is they're doing it at bowl games, right? I mean, I don't know what the 2 bowl games this year are going to be the national semifinals.
They're like December 29th.
Which bowls are they using?
I don't know.
They kind of rotate.
One, I think, is in Miami.
So it could
One
be-
is in Texas. Am I right?
Could be. Yeah. So if you went to 8, you'd have to add another week somewhere and then figure out where to play those games. It would seem to me that the first round you would play at the higher ranked team's home, kind of add a little bit of spice as
It's
opposed to
crazy
neutral
because if
site.
they ever did go to 8, that would eliminate everything because you're never going to have a fight at number 9. But you do have a fight at number 5. Is that
I
fair?
don't know.
And the fights used to be crazy.
Yeah.
No, you have more of a fight.
You
I
think?
you have more of a fight.
Yeah,
Right,
more,
you're more of a
you're
fight.
always going
You're always
to
have a fight. Exactly. Even
Yeah.
in a 64 team pool, you always have somebody at 65.
But it's a bigger
But
fight.
It's a bigger fight.
Because you could have
It's a
some
bigger
2-loss teams, you know.
I mean, when you think
Rank
about it,
eighth,
that
right?
you know, up until 10 years ago, whatever it was, that they were doing it based on a bunch of guys picking, right? That one year Washington was undefeated, didn't get the nod, or you know, the college football experts will have a story every other year, no two ways about it. But Final Four takes a lot of that out.
Yeah, because this year
Because you know you're getting,
Yeah.
no matter how you look at it, the top 3 are the top 3. The question becomes 4 versus 5 and 6. The top 3 are the top 3. There's no argument,
I
right?
don't
You're
know.
never going to hear anybody say in the Final Four that year, Clemson shouldn't have been at 3. It's going to be that 4th team in versus 5 and 6.
Correct. I believe Ohio
So-
State's only loss. I think,
And our limited mental memories these days, as long as you get 1 and 2, right, everything else falls into place.
I mean, it seems to me that 1 or 2 is going to be. I mean, we're going to be kind of destined for another Alabama-Clemson showdown. I think Notre Dame is a paper tiger, personally.
Yeah, I watched them last night. I mean, I watched a lot of that game.
I don't think they match up well against Clemson or Alabama.
I mean, we saw what Alabama did to them a few years ago. But of course, it's different teams. But that could be the same thing as far as I'm concerned.
And if we see Alabama Clemson, this will be what? This will be the third time in four seasons.
Sure.
Which is pretty impressive.
I would say they're on somewhat of a collision course.
Yeah.
It's fair.
I mean, it would seem that way. Like I said, the kind of big talking point is going to be Ohio State versus Oklahoma for that fourth spot if everything goes as planned.
I'm just watching the game yesterday. I'm watching the NFL games and all the hype of the NFL, and I don't know. I'm watching that game and I'm so envious. Kids that go to a school like that. And if anybody watched the game, that to me the loudest the stadium was, where I could actually make the joke that it was coming into my family room, was on the block punt. I don't know if you saw the block punt that Ohio State picked up and ran in for a touchdown. I mean, the explosion in that stadium was just, sea of red. They were all packed in.
They made a point during the broadcast that I guess Shiano took over the special teams also.
That's correct. They said it right after that.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, and he came up with some kind of weird design.
Right, so it worked.
He's good at like blocking punts or whatever. Yeah, you can't beat the atmosphere of college football. Can't beat it.
As you get older, do your tastes change? I think they do.
Yeah.
I was out with a bunch of guys that I grew up with for our, Thanksgiving get-together, like I think everybody should try to do, right? Get together with your old friends. That's what Thanksgiving is. We were out Tuesday night. By the way, proudest moment ever in Mazza Radio. What is this, episode 36?
Yeah, we think.
Yep.
We do the same thing, right? A bunch of guys in their 50s. We meet at the bar. Who Ubered, who took a train. We did it where guys could take Metro North, who's in the city, who's not. So we start out with the same thing. Now we're in the stage of colleges, right? Got a couple of kids in college, a couple of kids out, but most are going in. Most are like my son's age. Most and my daughter. They're either in or going in. And so we do that. Then we talk about, who's giving up carbs as we're eating macaroni. And then at the end we start talking about what we're binge watching. And I hear one of the guys go to my buddy, goes, yeah, Wild Wild Country. And he's like, yeah? He goes, yeah, Mazza gave it to me.
That's a certified freshman.
It's a guy you never met, all right? So, and I'm like, whoa. He goes, yeah, your buddy was talking about it on the podcast.
That's a recommendation.
Wild
Too
Wild
long.
West?
Too long.
Wild
Country. True story.
It's a documentary.
We've talked about it.
And we love you, but you love every show.
Yeah, he
so
loves
we
every
can't
show.
tell. We don't know what to watch.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a little bit of that.
That's
Everything
just
is
too
great.
much.
Let me tell you.
He's got a little bit of 35 top 10 movies of all time.
Right.
I'm a big list guy. Like when I hear somebody like recommend a show that who I trust or whatever, then I do my research before I commit to a show. So it's rare that I start watching a show and I'm like, this is garbage.
Okay.
I've already done my research.
True.
People
Yeah, you give yourself odds going in.
It makes like top 10 lists and stuff like that.
But
That's
the
my
show-
research.
The point of the dinner was one of the guys goes, I'm all about Saturdays on football now. I don't even turn it on Sunday. The college football?
So they're watching college football. But
It's
also
just one
no-
guy. One
NFL?
guy. But
This week's kind of a down week with the NFL. We'll talk
just
about
the
it.
college football, it's just that, so many guys have gotten me into it over.
You can't
Now,
beat
listen,
the atmosphere.
we
of
can make the joke
telecast.
again. I mean,
Yeah.
you put the Giants at 7-3 instead of 3-7. I'm not having this conversation. But
Yeah.
yesterday, I watched 2 full games.
During Thanksgiving week, it's a big rivalry week too, so you get sucked into a lot
It
of these
heats up.
games.
Everything heats up.
The NFL is easier to get away from, and
Jump back
college,
in.
the college football is easier to get to. I think you can just jump on,
Correct.
and start to like a team or get involved. Where
There's so many different games that are on constantly, right? I mean, all day on ESPN from beginning to
It's
end.
nonstop.
On 4 or 5 different
I
channels.
try to explain this to my son how like the Blue Bonnet Bowl on when we were kids, December 30th was like, oh my God, there's a game on that's not January 1st. Now I think there'll be like a game basically every night, right? Because they,
What's that conference?
whatever,
that does
the
games
Alamo
on
Bowl,
Tuesday?
the Dairy Queen
Yeah.
Bowl.
You got the MAC conference, which is on either like Thursdays or Tuesdays, right? During the week. They kind of carved that day for themselves. But yeah, I mean, there's like so many games on it. And I guess because they bring eyeballs. Because the ratings got to be decent, I would assume.
I mean, a couple of years ago they did the Final Four on New Year's Eve, which to me is just fantastic.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there was a little blowback
Fantastic,
on that. There was kind of a bad
For the
night.
Tony Mazza guy who claims he doesn't like to leave his house on January
True.
20th, you must be loving that on New Year's Eve.
That's true. Yeah, for people our age,
Have
night
a
is
couple of people
basically-
over, turn the game on, and they just roll one into the other.
but for younger
Perfect.
people, I think they lose a little bit of audience because people go out, I guess. I don't think you're doing that this year. I don't think it falls that way this
No,
year.
it's like
from a
December. I heard it last night. They were talking about it at the Notre Dame game.
So it's probably
It's
the
like
weekend
December
before New Year's Eve.
29th or something. Yeah, December. I think it's either 28th or 29th.
I'll be curious. Like, I mean, there'll be some pressure to go to 8. Now, whether it works in the schedule or not, I don't know. But there's always going to be pressure to expand it at some point. You know, whether they actually go that way or don't go that way, and they can figure out the schedule. I can't figure out the schedule.
What is this? Year 6? Year 8? Time's flying. Year 8? Does that sound right?
Could it be that long? 8?
Maybe. I would say no. I
think it's probably like 6.
It's
probably-
6?
Yeah, 6 kind of.
Of what, the playoffs?
Yeah.
Probably 6, I would think. But it's compelling. We'll see what happens next week. We'll obviously get some more clarity after what happens with the games next week, and then they'll announce the Heisman Trophy. I believe is going to be soon, if not next weekend. I believe. You got the quarterback from Alabama. You got the quarterback from Ohio State. Haskins, who had a big game.
Yeah.
People talk about him as being a pro prospect. I don't know. Quarterbacks out of Ohio State, pro prospect. I don't know. Could it be a top 10 pick? Could it be somebody that could entice someone like the Giants, maybe?
What did he
I don't know.
break? Drew Brees' single season record yesterday?
Yep, touchdowns, and I
you.
think career passing yards, maybe I think it was close to 4,000. It must have been yards in a season for Big Ten record. Yeah, past Drew Brees, I think some other quarterback too. So yeah,
I
it's
think like the top 8 college football players, 6 are quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Just shows you where that game is going as well. Forget about the NFL level.
you want to give us
You
a
have one
recap?
running back and maybe I think you have one defensive player in that whole mix.
You want to give us a recap on Summit football? I saw they got beat yesterday.
You know, I didn't go.
Yeah?
I didn't
So
go.
you went, right?
Yeah, I went to the
went.
game. It was nice at the Meadowlands.
At the
I have
Meadowlands.
to do
The marching band, even though they're unranked, phenomenal.
They were good.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
watching the band. I'm getting old, I guess. Things you start to like when you
This
get
is
old.
the ultimate suburban story here. I wanted to go. It's my son's grade. He doesn't play, but he is a senior, so I know all the kids. I went to 2 of the 3 playoff games. They won the state championship last week, and now they're in, I guess, what you would call a tournament of champions, right? I mean, Jersey just cannot have one football championship because it's high school football. They'd be playing up until these bowl games. I mean, it's too crowded a state. So they won a 6 champions, which is great, and then they go to this MetLife thing. I want to go, but I've got to do something for work. I got to take a test for work, so I have to study. And I'm actually on the clock.
Studying and taking a
Actually,
test at
you
our
believe
age is
this?
a little
You believe
odd, huh?
this? I actually have to log my hours. So I said to my wife, I said, I got to be mature. I can't go. I need the house to myself.
Oh my God.
So I'm going to get
I
like
didn't
4
realize.
hours. She shuts the door
Yeah.
by myself. I've got a college kid home who's sleeping until God knows whatever. So I'm essentially home alone. And I hear the beeping downstairs. The beeping. I'm like, smoke detector alarm. Let me go fix this thing. Go down. Anyone who owns a home knows this. The worst feeling in the world is I'm going down the stairs. I hear the water hitting the floor.
God.
I'm like, that's not the smoke detector. You know that feeling when you open the door just to see how much damage?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, folks. A little public service announcement from Mazza. Get yourself that $49 alarm that you put on the floor because there was nothing. Piece of cake. Turned it off. I mean,
Was it
obviously,
dripping? It was
obviously
dripping?
the thing went, and that's a whole nother issue, and that's,
Is it water heater?
one of the, yeah.
Did you have a flooding issue when you first moved in?
Yeah, I did. You wanted to, we going to cover this too?
Was that a water heater or was
I
that something
did.
else?
No, pipe burst.
A pipe burst.
Pipe burst, and I didn't know where the pipes were because I was in the house 3 days, and the fireman had to come over and turn off the main water.
Bobby's fantastic in these situations. He basically contacts Shari. Shari called the guy,
Yeah.
and that's it.
That's it.
Well, I
She
thought
knows
first-
where everything is.
I
I
thought
put it
before
on
you even told Sharon, I thought
FaceTime.
you called
I put it
Joe.
on
You called Joe
FaceTime
now,
Live.
right?
I went over the house.
How
I took a
long?
look.
How long before you called Jill?
I put it on FaceTime Live, and she showed me where the main valve was on FaceTime Live. She was already at MetLife.
Yeah, we covered this during the.
But how long
football
before you called Joe to come over and help you out?
What, yesterday?
Yeah.
He was with her.
game. I was with Shari.
Oh,
He
okay.
Came
came over
over.
afterwards. But
All right,
everything
came
was
over. All right.
Looked at his system. He gave me 30 seconds. Like, forget it. Call the
guy.
professionals.
Call the professionals. That's what they're there for.
They had to replace the hot water heater?
Guy didn't come over till 10 o'clock at night. They're pretty jammed up here in the Northeast when the temperature goes below 40.
They always tend to break at the worst time, I guess, the hot water heater.
What did that run you for a new one?
I don't know. Let's not even talk about it. Let's take a quick break. Come back.
The joys of home ownership.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I mean, it's every time something like that, and I know everybody out there is thinking this. You're like, why'd I ever leave that small apartment? Seriously. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back. Mazza Radio.
Digital delight of jazz and what's more on WFDU HD2.
You want to do some baseball?
Now let's do a little Giants. Giants, Jets.
I'm Judy DeAngelis, and you can
Yeah,
hear
baseball,
me
yeah.
every Tuesday afternoon on
Next
Retro
week
Radio
we'll talk,
Tuesday afternoon.
We'll talk the Yankee trade with Charlie. Right?
Join
Charlie's
me
a big
for
baseball,
Jim.
all right?
Huh?
We'll talk the Yankee